Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. So after a long time, finally ICAI has come out with a clarification, not exactly a clarification, rather I would say it has put a further dilemma over the student that when next. So right, but the institute on its part isn't wrong, because the situation right now couldn't be calculated. It isn't certain, so we should respect the institute. It has said that it will give a further intimation to the student at least 25 days before the commencement of examination. So as of now, as we do not know when the examination will be commenced, we should not waste any time, and we should progress in our studies. So with this motive, we have started the revision of our first chapter of the Companies Law, which is chapter 11, that is companies incorporated outside India, which is also foreign company, or what we know. It includes section 2 and section 379 to 393. Section 2 clause 42 is the definition section, which defines what a foreign company actually is, and these are the provision based section, which defines what all provisions are applicable to foreign companies. So starting with the first section, section 2 clause 42, it is the definition of a foreign company, which defines a foreign company as a company incorporated outside India, having a place of business in India and a business activity in India. All three conditions need to be satisfied in combination, and failure of any single condition, for example this or this, failure of any single condition will not form a foreign company. So for being a foreign company, the company needs to be incorporated outside India, should have a place of business in India and a business activity in India. The place of business in India includes the share transfer office or share registration office. The place of business in India could be through its agent or through itself. It includes an electronic mode office, and whether the main server is installed in India or not, it shall not be relevant for defining a company as a foreign company. Then the foreign company shall have a registrar having jurisdiction over New Delhi. This could be an important question for MCQ, and the definition of foreign company, as you already know if you have go through the scanner once, that it is very important. It has been one of the most favorite areas of institute for questioning. So there are certain case studies of which a certain points I have highlighted over here, which will help you to solve a question even better. If Indian citizens incorporated a company outside India merely because Indian citizens have constituted a company outside India, it will not amount to foreign company unless the place of business of a foreign company is in India and the business activity is in India. If a company is registered in India, incorporated a company outside India, it will not be a foreign company. Because why? Because subsidiary of a foreign company, holding of a foreign company will not amount to foreign company merely by the fact that the subsidiary or holding is a foreign company. A company is incorporated in India, but all the shares were held by foreigners. Again, this is not a foreign company. So these all are the questions which have earlier asked by the institute, which will help you to perform better. Coming to the next section, this is section 379, which is the application of Act to foreign company. It is actually basically a deemed Indian company, when a foreign company could be deemed to be an Indian company. Okay, why do we need to bifurcate between a foreign company, Indian company deemed to be an Indian company? Because the a deemed Indian company will be like Indian company. I mean, all the sections which are applicable to an Indian company will be applicable to a deemed Indian company, which means despite being in the character of a foreign company, a company could be bounded by all the regulations of the Companies Act 2013. So, when a foreign company could be deemed to be an Indian company when the paid up share capital more than or equal to 50% of the paid up share capital of the foreign company is held by Indian citizens, Indian company, or either by Indian citizens and Indian company partly. The paid up share capital shall include equity share capital as well as the preference share capital. And the holding in all these three could be either individually or in aggregation. In case of a deemed Indian company, the company shall be bounded by Chapter 22 of the Companies Act, and the business in India shall be treated as if incorporated in India. Coming to the next section, section 380, it is one of the most important sections of this chapter. The first important section is section 242, which defines the foreign company, and this is another important section. So, this could be asked directly in the examination. This could be a question in the May 21 examination as well. What are all the documents that the foreign company needs to deliver to ROC at the time of incorporation? So this is a list of documents what the foreign company needs to deliver to ROC. Number 1 is the certified copies of MOA and AOA in English language. This point has a catch in it. This could be asked in MCQ. This separate point could be asked in MCQ. What is the catch in it? That if the certified copies of MOA and AOA are not in English language, they needs to be translated to the English language. And not just this, the MOA and AOA translated in English should be authenticated by the advocate, and a power of attorney should be attached to it. Further, an affidavit from the competent person having knowledge of both the languages should be given along with the certified copies of MOA and AOA to the ROC. So this could be a standalone question in the examination as well, either in descriptive or in MCQ. I expect this to be a question this time. Second is the full address of registered or principal office, then full address of principal place of business in India. Fourth is the opening, closing, principal place of business in India, then the list of directors and secretaries and their particulars. Name and address of authorized person resident in India needs to be given. Along with this, a declaration that no directors has ever been convicted and an attested copy of approval from RBI under the FEMA Act needs to be given, and attested copy of approval of any other regulatory body needs to be given. And if the foreign company is not being regulated by any other regulated body, a declaration of same needs to be given. These documents are required to be delivered at Delhi ROC. ROC having jurisdiction over New Delhi. Okay, all these documents shall be filed by the foreign company within a period of 30 days from the date of establishment of place of business in India. These documents needs to be filed by the foreign company in form FC1. This could be an MCQ question to you. You need to remember this also. And any alteration to the above information submitted by the foreign company needs to be filed to the ROC in form FC2 within a period of 30 days from the date of such alterations. So you anyhow have to mug section 380. It is important for examination, and the chances for for asking that question in the upcoming attempt is, I think, higher. Okay, coming to the next section, section 381, accounts of foreign company. Every foreign company shall deliver these 6 accounts to the ROC when it needs to be delivered within a period of 6 months from the closure of financial year. However, a 3-month grant may be allowed by ROC. So, what all accounts the foreign company is required to be delivered to ROC? Number 1, the financial statement, which includes the balance sheet, profit and loss account, cash flow statement, notes to accounts, etc. in Schedule 3. Then list of all place of business in India in FC3, list of consolidated financial statement of the foreign company, the statement of related party transaction, statement of repatriation of profit, and the statement of transfer of funds. All these documents are required to be in English language only, right? And this is an important thing. The list of all the place of business in India is to be filed with the ROC in Form FC3. The accounts pertaining to Indian business operations are required to be audited by a practicing chartered accountant in India, and a practicing chartered accountant in India means a proprietor like person and a chartered accountant firm or LLP. This is a important section, not very important, but you need to go through this section once. Then section 382, it is a display of name etc. of foreign company. Very simple section. Every foreign company shall exhibit on every office, place of business, or any of its documents like the invoice, the letterhead, etc., the name of foreign company, the country of incorporation, and the fact that the liability of members is limited, right? Then subsidiary of a foreign company does not amount to foreign company merely by this fact. This I have already told you. Then coming to the next section, section 383, service of documents of foreign company, where the the regulatory authorities, the ROC and others required to service the documents of foreign companies. So this section provides the information that for the service of documents of foreign company is required to be made to the authorized person who shall be a resident in India. Coming to the next section, least important section. It says, section 384, it says that the debentures, the provisions with respect to debentures, annual return, CSR, books of accounts, registration of charge, inspection, inquiry, investigation, these sections, these provisions, these sections, etc., relates to the foreign company as they apply to Indian company. However, one important point in this section is that the annual return of a foreign company is required to be filed in Form FC4 within a period of 60 days from the last date of financial year. This is important. This could be an MCQ question too. So, FC4 within 60 days from the end of financial year. Coming to the next section, section 385, I have not included this section here because it actually says that the foreign company, whatever fees it is required to be paid, is required to be paid to the ROC Delhi. This we already know because the jurisdiction of a foreign company, the jurisdiction of ROC of a foreign company is the ROC having jurisdiction over New Delhi. The next section, section 386, that has a certain definitions. What we have studied here, that the place of business in India, and this includes the share transfer office or share registration office. This particular thing is what is written in section 386 of the Companies Act, right? So whenever you have to attempt the such a question where you need to answer that whether a company is a foreign company or not, you have to give reference of section 2 clause 42 along with section 386 of the Companies Act. Coming to the next section, section 387. Before studying this section, you need to understand a small concept. What is it? Just as an Indian company, whenever it wants to raise funds from India, it issues share. However, a foreign company cannot directly issue shares in India and raise funds out of it. So in order to raise money from India, a foreign company issues Indian depository receipts. Whenever shares are issued by an Indian company, a company is required to issue prospectus before issuing shares. Similarly, a foreign company needs to issue prospectus before offering Indian depository receipts. So these provisions, section 387, 388 and 389, this is in respect of prospectus only. Section 387, what does it say? Dating of prospectus and particulars to be contained therein. Here, This section specifies that the prospectus should be dated and signed, and the particulars, what all particulars should be there in the prospectus. It says the instrument defining its constitution, which is the MOA, the enactment of constitution, which means under which enactment the foreign company has been constituted. For example, whether it has been constituted under the Companies Act or the Banking Companies Act or the Cooperative Society Act, etc. Under which act actually it has been constituted. The next is address for inspection of instruments and enactment. The next is date and country of incorporation, the place of business, principal place of business or principal place of office in India, and the matters which are specified under section 26, which states the normal particulars for issue of prospectus. This we have already studied in our IPCC, that what all documents we need, what all matters we need to specify while issuing a prospectus. This is the same point, right? So this is all. Again, section 387 does not apply to existing members or invitation for previously issued shares on recognized stock exchange, right? Coming to the next section, section 388, this is again important question. Either like I would say that these two sections comes together. Whenever the institute will ask, these two will come together. You have to write this again, this also. Okay, provision as to export consent and allotment. This already we know. Whenever we issue a prospectus, we have to give consent of an expert in the prospectus in case of shares. Similarly is in the case of IDR. So we have to give the expert consent while issuing the prospectus offering Indian depository receipts. When the consent should not be included in the prospectus, when the expert has not given his consent or the expert has withdrawn his consent. This is very general point, but you have to write in examination, right? Coming to the next section, section 389, it says what it says: registration of prospectus. Okay, what all we need to have to register to get our prospectus registered. So this is what we are required to write. This will not be asked in exam because these are very general points. However, we should read it once. So first is certified copy of prospectus delivered to ROC Delhi. This has to be certified by the chairperson and two directors. This is important for MCQ purpose. Then experts consent under section 388. Copy of contract for appointing MDs and managers. Copy of other material contract within preceding 2 financial year which are not in ordinary course of business, than the copy of underwriting agreement and the copy of power of attorney. Right. Then coming to the next section, section 390, very general section. It says the offers of whenever a company offers for IDR, central government shall make the rules for everything with respect to IDR. Right. The next section, section 391, it says application of section 34 to section 36 and chapter 20 of the Companies Act. What does this section means? Many students just read this section without knowing the actual meaning of the section, that what the section wants to say. So section 34 to 36 are actually in your IPCC. This says the liability for misstatement and prospectus. So whenever there is any misstatement in the prospectus, you will be there are civil liabilities and criminal liabilities for this. This is what a section 34 to 36 says. These shall apply to prospectus and IDR as they apply to Indian companies. So a foreign company can also be civilly and criminally liable if there is any misstatement in the prospectus, and what is chapter 20 of the Companies Act? It is winding up. That the provisions of winding up of a foreign company is also applicable here, right? Coming to the next section, section 392, it is penalty. Penalty for contravention. If you have contravened any provision of this chapter, this penalty shall be applicable. Penalty For the company, it is rupees 1 lakh, which may extend to rupees 3 lakh, and an additional penalty of 50,000 per day for the continuing offence. For the officers of the company, it is imprisonment, which is up to 6 months, and fine of 25,000 to 5 lakh or both. This imprisonment point has not been considered by the ICAI. This is not removed by the ICAI, so you have to write it in the May 21 exams. This could not be there in the November 21 examination, right? But in the May 21, you have to remember this. Okay, section 393, the last section of this chapter, it says, if the company fails to comply with the provisions of this chapter, it shall not affect the validity of contract, which means the valid in all the contracts which were entered prior to failure of provisions will remain valid, and the company may be sued, but company cannot sue or set off or any counter claim or for any legal proceedings. Like the company could be sued, but the company cannot make a litigation against the third person. So this was all about this chapter. There are this is for a quick glance of this chapter. This is the list of sections I have provided. So we have studied section 2 clause 42, which defines a foreign company. Then coming to the section 389, the application of Act to foreign company, which is the deemed Indian company concept. 380 was documents to be delivered to ROC. This was important section. Section 381, accounts of foreign company. 382, display of name etc. of foreign company. 383 was the service of documents on foreign company. This is to be made to the authorized person. Then 384 was that these sections shall be applicable to foreign company as they are applicable to Indian company. 385 was the free for registration of documents. 386 were certain definitions which were there in, for the place of business in India wala. Then 387 was dating of prospectus. 388 provision of experts consent. 389 registration of prospectus. These three sections comes together. Then 390 was offer of Indian company, Indian depository receipts. Then application of 34 to 36 in chapter 20 to foreign company. 34 to 36 was misstatement in prospectus, and 20 was winding up. Punishment for contravention, this is important, could be asked for MCQ as well as descriptive. And then there was section 393, failure to comply with the provisions of this chapter not to affect the validity of contract. Right, this was all about this chapter. Hope you have enjoyed. If you did so, please hit the like button and please subscribe to my channel, and if you want any further revision sessions. So thank you so much for this section.